Welcome to this week's Good Work Show.
You're not excited.
I wasn't even going to say that.
You were going to do it.
I wasn't even going to say it. Anywho, yes,
we're glad.
We are in the house for another show. That's right. We got people raising the roof back here and everything. It is a party. It's a party.
It is. I still stand by the fact that we need sound effects.
Well, get some sound effects.
I don't know how do we do this.
Effects machine.
We need to be able to say when we welcome somebody to the show, there needs to be applause.
Oh, okay.
This needs to happen.
Well, Amazon will
have everything.
Amazon will hook you up.
I don't know how the guys will feel about that. So,
can we get a sound effects machine?
No.
No. Okay. Well,
so
they said no.
They said no.
Anyway, you can just make your own.
Do like.
You can just put it on your phone and then just play it when it's time.
Okay. Can we do that? No.
Okay.
Well, so, audience, sorry. You don't get sound effects.
Well,
no puppies.
That was your idea.
I know. So now we're up to what? No puppies.
Yeah.
No sound effects.
I don't think that the puppy thing is
no baby otters.
I just don't think you bring otters in out of the
water.
Yeah.
They're mammals.
They can go on the land for like a little bit of time, but
they're mammals. Don't they breathe the air?
I know, but how are we? What is?
There could be a.
But what are we doing with that? What's the show?
As one does with the baby otter.
I wouldn't know that. So finish that.
I don't know.
I need you to.
Apparently, they have to be groomed for several hours a day. Like there were people at the baby otters, like because that's like their
in the zoo in the captivity.
Yeah, so like like in the wild, their mothers groom them.
Oh yeah, in the wild. Yes,
so when the baby otters came to the aquarium, that was like a job for somebody just to like brush the otters.
Oh, okay.
I was like, oh my gosh, what a dream! I was living the dream. Getting paid to brush
do you think they got paid?
I don't know.
But it's probably a volunteer opportunity.
Even if not, I can think of some volunteer opportunities that I've done that are nowhere near as great as cuddling and brushing a baby otter.
Well, that you should sign up.
I know. We just need to get Joe Handy back in here, and we need to make that happen.
Well, you should definitely do it.
Obviously, by now, I think our audience knows I'm obsessed with.
Yeah.
Anyway.
Well, when you do that wildlife show, just let me know so I can be prepared.
I need a hat and a vest.
Yeah, I might have a stand-in. It's not that I don't like animals. I just think that's we're not set up for that.
Well,
we
no,
can't
not
even
here.
Get a sound effects machine, and
that's true.
In a live animal.
That's true. Well, that could be its own sound effects.
It would be some
that
sound
is
effects.
True. I guess yes.
I think we should stick to
what we know. And what we know is our guest today.
That's right. So we have Chief Pat Labatt, who is going to come on the show from the City of Atlanta Department of Corrections, going to talk about the PAT 3 program. I just love that the name is Pat, but anyway.
Awesome.
But it's a really good program that is unique to the city. And he's going to tell us all about it. I really hope that everybody sticks and hears the show because he's doing something in the world of corrections that is changing people's lives in the fact that they're getting these people ready to go into the world in a very unique way while they're still incarcerated.
Yeah.
So, and not waiting until afterwards, which is... Honestly, it's too late. When somebody leaves and they're going back, you've got to that rapid attachment to jobs, to family, to work, to people who are doing positive things. It needs to happen before they make the transition.
Right. I mean, my thing is, no matter what kind of life transition you're making, you need to be prepared for whatever that next step is. And, when you think about kids leaving from like preschool going into elementary school or, even if it's small things. I just remember like when you have open house, when you're going into high school and you're like, oh, well, let me go that day so I can walk around and like fake walk walk my schedule.
Find your locker.
So I know where my well, we didn't have lockers, but, You
didn't have lockers?
We had 2 sets of books. We had a school set and a home set.
But what if you had your jacket you didn't want to carry around all day?
plug. We did not have
Sling
lockers.
it over your shoulder and keep going.
We did not have lockers. So we had a set we had a set of books that we took home, and we had a set of books that you had
but
that you used
even
in
if
class.
you didn't take your book around, like I don't think I took all my books to class, but in high school I did have a locker. I had a backpack too, but I didn't want to carry all that stuff around all day.
Backpack and a dream. That's what you had. You did not have a locker.
And a dream.
And you had a backpack and probably shoulder problems when you graduated. But no, we didn't have lockers. Mm-mm.
Is that new? Well, you're not that.
No, because I'm not new. So
yeah, that's what I say. I wonder. But no, my daughter had a lock. Now, she never went to her locker. I don't even think she knew where her locker was in high school, because at this point now they don't, they didn't even use, they had everything kind of electronic.
Yeah.
And, so she didn't really use her locker, but they still had them though.
No, we didn't. No. So there was no meet me at my locker. There was no sliding notes.
There was no bully in the thing where they
shove you in the locker
and then you close it. No. And standing there
no. What movie was that?
That was on Juice.
Yes. Slam the door
and Tupac's right there. Yeah.
That's a great meme. Anyway.
Yeah.
But no, there was none of that. So all of those things that you see in high school movies where it's he left a note at my locker. Oh, meet me at my locker.
And somebody
decorate my locker. So all those things that they sell at Target where you decorate your locker.
The locker
the locker mirrors and the
mirror. Yes. No. You missed out.
Sure did. I don't know that I ever had a locker anywhere.
Not even in middle school. I bet you can't do a combination lock. That's where you learn that combination.
No, so I can only because we had them at gym. So you had a gym locker. But other than that, we didn't have. And I'm trying to think, did we leave our stuff in our gym locker? We only had gym for one semester. So I think there were enough so that you could have a locker. But no, we didn't have just a generic.
I feel bad for kids these days. If they don't have lockers, how are you going to know how to do a master lock? That is a skill set.
It really is.
That you got to clear it out.
Do they still have those, or do they not just are they not apps now?
I don't know, but everybody should know how to do that, because at some point in your life, you're going to run into a combination lock with the dial.
Right. Turn left.
Yes.
Turn back to the right.
And you got to line it up.
And you got to turn it the right amount of times. You got to pass and then go and pass. And so you have
to know that. What if you were somewhere and that was your only route of escape and I've never done this. That would be bad.
That would be sad, because if you had the lock and the combination and didn't know how to put those
That's what I'm saying. It's not intuitive, because the paper doesn't, it just has 3 numbers. It doesn't tell you
right, left, right.
That's right.
And you have to know.
And you have to
right,
know.
left, right.
And you have to know you got to go all the way around that one.
And come back. Well, no, we didn't have that. We had, like I said, we had gym lockers, and I had a bike lock, so I knew how to.
So you knew how to use the lock.
I know how to use a lock, but we didn't have lockers in order to store. I don't know why.
It must have been a safety concern or something.
Maybe. This was many years ago. Not that many.
But enough. I had lockers, so that doesn't really equal out.
I don't know. I should ask my dad.
Yeah, there was something to that.
Daddy, why didn't schools have lockers? I don't even know if my sister had lockers, because we went to the same school, but she was ahead of me. I don't know if she had lockers. I feel like there wasn't enough.
Maybe
that's what I honestly feel.
Maybe you didn't have a locker.
No, I just think that there weren't enough.
Your last name is L. They ran out. They ran out of lockers at K.
I really feel like they didn't have enough, so they said nobody got them. That's going to be my theory, that there weren't enough lockers in the school for everybody to have one.
So
they just said nobody gets lockers.
Well,
that's my theory.
That's fair, I guess.
With overcrowding, because we had portables. We had all those little shacks that were out in the field that you had to go to.
Yeah.
That was awful. And growing up in Florida,
yeah, you wouldn't want that, because you might get swept away.
Absolutely. Between the rain and the heat, having to go out to classes in a portable, it didn't feel safe.
Yeah, it might not have been. But anyway, what is safe? I don't know
how we got down this road.
I don't know. Oh, because I hang out with Chief Labatt. That's safe.
Because I started with walking around class, and then you said locker, and then that's
yes.
Sometimes I just need to know how we ended up in the rabbit hole. I'm cool that we're in it. I just need to know how we got there.
The funniest one was
Dixie Carter.
Yeah, when she was dead.
Well, she still is.
Well, I didn't know that.
That hasn't changed.
But anyway, that is a whole diversion.
Yes.
From Chief Labat, who is going to come on the show and talk about really unique solutions to helping those folks who are in his jail. And it is just a remarkable program.
It is.
So we want you to stick around, hear from the chief, and then figure out at the end, we are going to talk a little bit more about what he's doing and, how that, plays into what we're doing here at the Good Work Show, because we like to bring you good content about things that are going really well and people who are finding good solutions, whether they're mostly from nonprofit world. But, sometimes you run across an individual like the chief who just really wants to make a difference and sees an opportunity to do that and keeps it going. A lot of people see opportunities to do things, and for one reason or another, they're scared. They don't think they could do it. They don't have the right resources. And so they never come up with those solutions, and those problems don't ever get addressed.
Yeah.
And so anyway, I'm glad he's taking a step.
Yeah, absolutely. We love when we get people who are the founders or the person who has the idea, because it's always good to hear from them on what made them take that step. There's a lot of people that, like you said, has great ideas and doesn't do anything with them. So it's always good, and I feel like it's inspirational to hear from people who said, not only did I just identify a problem in my community, but I created a solution, and then I kind of stepped out on faith to bring that solution to the community and hope that it takes hold and I can actually make a difference for some folks. So super excited to talk to him. I think it'll be fun. There are listeners of the show.
Yes. Yeah.
So,
and that's always good when we have listeners, because when we talked about, when you went back and said, the Dixie Carter thing, only if you knew what that show was about, you'd know why it was funny. Maybe we should bring that back.
We really should.
That was hilarious. I literally laughed myself out of the chair. Like that was before we had video. And
so you couldn't see it, but it was pretty good.
Yeah, it was funny. Anyway, we'll be back with Chief Labat after the break. You're listening to The Good Work Show.
To learn more about the show and how your company can tell their story, like us on Facebook and follow us on Twitter @Good Work Show.
Audience, welcome back to the Good Work Show. We are excited to not do anything wrong at this point. Not to do everything right legally. No, we are excited because we have Chief Pat Labat in the studio with us. He is from the City of Atlanta, Department of Corrections. Welcome to the show.
Thank you so much. It's an honor to be here.
Yeah.
My wife and I listen quite often, and it's an opportunity for us to share with some of the things that people simply don't know about. We do a lot of work inside the jail and outside the jail, and thank you again for having me.
Yeah, it's our pleasure. We don't often get city officials on the show, so this is like really, really cool for us.
And they listen to the show.
I know. That's actually the best.
That is
part
the
of
best
it,
part of this whole thing.
That we have listeners,
fantastic,
and people like it.
It is absolutely fantastic. We want to share.
So Chief, tell us a little bit about your background, because I think a lot of people probably know who you are, but they may not know your background and kind of what your backstory is. And I think for a lot of people who meet people in positions of authority, for the city, they think, oh, this is what they are doing in their role, but they don't think back, like, who is this person? So tell us a little about yourself.
And that's a fair question.
Yeah.
So I'm born and raised right here in Atlanta, Georgia, from Frederick Douglass High School to Clark Atlanta University.
Okay.
I actually started working at the jail 11 at night to 7 in the morning and going to school at Clark during the daytime.
Wow.
And then I walked my way on the tennis team. I figured out that academic scholarship was might be in trouble. So I might need to figure out a way to subsidize that. And so I walked on the tennis team and, again, work. Every time I got ready to leave the jail, I'd either get promoted or another opportunity would come along. And then life has a way of putting you where you need to be. And that's where I am. So nearing 30 years. As a matter of fact, December 15th specifically, it'll be 30 years. And you all should come to my retirement.
Yeah, that would be fun. Now tell me, is it
at the jail?
Yeah.
No, not at the jail.
That would be so interesting.
First question.
No, good Lord willing, it'll be at City Hall in the atrium, December 4th.
All right.
6 o'clock.
We'll be there. That sounds like a fun party. And I know the city's probably going to, after 30 years, what are they going to do without Chief Labat?
No, we can work some things out.
Okay,
right?
okay.
There are some next steps, but that's what that's not what this is about, and we can certainly have that conversation later.
Yeah,
Cool.
Yeah. All right.
So talk to us. So what this conversation is about, you guys reached out because you're listeners to the show. Yay. To tell us about the PAT 3 program. So tell us, what does it stand for, and what is it, and what's the mission?
So it's preparing adult offenders through transition and therapy.
Okay.
So sitting around the conference room table a couple of years ago, the thought process was, why can't we engage with the State Department of Corrections in a program, a creative program, where detainees, or in their case, we call them participants, would come over, nonviolent detainees, would come over and actually be employed by the city. Something that's never been done in the country. And so while everybody was telling us what we couldn't do, we became a certified transitional center. And then we partnered with the state and the Urban League of Greater Atlanta. So if the individual's coming, they have to have between 12 and 18 months left on their sentence. And the difference is, while everyone else goes home at the end of the day, they come back to the jail. And so we partnered with Commissioner Powell over Watershed. She's the commissioner there, and presented this program and said, listen, we know you need help on work crews, whether they're fixing fire hydrants or whether they're pipe fitters, or how do you learn? We can train individuals. But here's the important part, and this is really where it came from. I make no bones about it. I was raised by a single black female, met my dad twice, and I tell everybody, we have a responsibility to make sure those that are incarcerated can figure out what next steps look like when they get ready to get out. And so the participants, when we started the program, the participants were to have children so they could start paying child support. But it has grown just exponentially. So everywhere from Arizona to Boston to D.C. to Richmond, Virginia, people have come and talked and want to have a conversation about this program. The program itself allows an individual, while incarcerated, to become a city employee. So they get paid every Friday like I get paid. And with Mayor Bottom's initiative to make sure everyone is paid above minimum wage, $14 an hour, last year, $15 this year, and $16 next year, the detainees actually make that. And so instead of leaving with $25 in a bus ticket, we've had individuals leave with $20,000.
Wow.
We've had individuals graduate from the program. One gentleman has 5 children, so we helped him get a 6-bedroom house.
Fantastic.
Our hope is that you leave on Saturday, you go to church on Sunday, and back to work on Monday. Tell people all the time, this program allows people to work on their retirement and their career while incarcerated. And there's no other like it in the country.
Wow. That's remarkable.
I mean, really.
This is, So this goes back to conversations that I think are just now being had that, quite honestly, cities and communities should have had a long time ago, where when people are exiting, the criminal justice system, what else? Where's that gap? You have to. And there are programs. I mean, we have some programs at Goodwill where we're helping people who are returning citizens, but there's got to be a little bit more. Like, what is it? And this, to me, is an awesome opportunity to say that I'm a City of Atlanta employee, not just I'm working somewhere, but that carries a lot of weight when you can say, hey, I'm working for the City of Atlanta, and when I get and as soon as the next day, when I get out, I can come to work and have somewhere to go, and it's a really good job.
And here's the unintended consequences. And let me tell you, to hear you say that, right, it gives me goosebumps every time I hear it, right? Because people have told us we couldn't make this happen, and the unintended consequences. These gentlemen get up every day at 6 a.m. They're at work before most of their coworkers. They work overtime just like their coworkers. But the unintended consequences is the level of pride that they take in the job. I hear their supervisors come back and say, "Do you have more people like that can be in the program?" And let me be clear: we started out with 20. We've gotten as far as 31 individuals. 9 have graduated totally out the program. The other piece is when the State Department of Corrections and Tim Ward over at the State Department of Corrections sent us a list of people to choose from. They sent 1,600 names.
Wow.
And so we could afford to be choosy. Let me let me be clear. Bad things happen to good people. So you end up in a situation where a person that may have a lawn care business is incarcerated. A plumber may be incarcerated. An electrician may be incarcerated. So we can put them in a place to be successful. Right. And part of that, back to your point, is they believe it's a true second chance.
Yeah.
And they see this. And the other piece to this is we reconnect you with your family. So we have family day in the auditorium, so your family can come and hang out. And one of the most proud times at the City of Atlanta Department of Corrections, every year we partner with Mrs. Omalami over at, now it is Hosea, Goodworks, right? Hosea Works, I apologize. And so we feed a couple hundred families at Christmas, and we also provide toys. Wow. Well, this group of men decided they wanted to adopt 2 families.
Wow.
And so they adopted military veterans, and the families came, got bicycles, toys. I mean, they paid for it out of their own pocket.
That's awesome.
So this is that piece of giving back before they even leave incarceration.
Wow. You know what, Chief? We have 3 minutes left before we need to take a break. I think we need to come back after the break and talk a little bit more about this program and what you're doing. But this is just remarkable. Kudos to you for not letting people tell you what you couldn't do, but seeing past what what could be a challenge, but also seeing how awesome this could be for those individuals who so choose to take advantage of it. And it's nice to hear you say, because there's a lot of stigma, I think, behind giving people second chances. We see it at Goodwill. Some people, yeah.
A lot of people get a lot of chances.
Well, that's true.
That's true.
That's true. Too many chances.
That's true.
But there are a lot of people who don't, whether you're a person with a disability or whether you're a person with it's something on your background, and people just think that you can't. And then it gets internalized. And then that's where you get the recidivism and people who are just, I'm only going to be. But you've broken that. That is truly remarkable.
And it's just a start, right?
Yeah.
We realize that in the State Department of Corrections will tell you 85 to 90% of the individuals in the state incarceration programs, whether they be on probation or not, come from the metro area. And so why not take a chance? We can be choosy, right? Why not take a chance and give individuals? We've had a few people we've had to send back. Let me be perfectly clear. But for every person we send back, there are 2 people waiting to come. And so we really are in the business of changing lives.
Yeah, that's awesome. So we're going to take a break, like I said. We've got like a minute left. Trenise, is there something else that you want to kind of ask Chief?
Well, I just want to make sure on the other side of the break that we talk about where this idea came from. Because we've kind of dug into all the great stuff that you're doing and some of the outcomes, but I really want to go back and talk about, what made you come up with this incredible idea and bring this to the city of Atlanta, and then maybe get some stories of some people that you've had a couple of folks graduate. So let's talk about some of those people and put something behind it so that people understand that real personal story. So let's do that after the break.
And I think it's kind of cool. We should not just end with that. It is your name, Pat 3. Just saying.
So, and it's a really good point.
You named it after yourself.
No, I didn't. I have a really great team. Let me be clear. The program is led by Major Natasha Johnson, and she and her team stepped in and said, "Listen, we think this is a great opportunity." And so, I applaud my people for being creative.
Okay.
All right. Well, audience, we're going to take a break. We're going to come back with Chief Labat, talk a little bit more about the PAT 3 program, and get a little more insight about some of the people that they've helped. You're listening to The Goodworks Show.
To learn more about the show and how your company can tell their story, like us on Facebook and follow us on Twitter @GoodworksShow.
Audience, we are back, and we have been having a really great conversation with Chief Pat Labat from the City of Atlanta Department of Corrections, talking about the PAT 3 program. It's not named after him, but it has the same acronym.
I mean,
yes, but a really innovative way to take folks who are in Department of Corrections, before they leave and give them the opportunity to not only work to become City of Atlanta employees, make a great wage, and be able to reconnect with their families. And even when you mentioned before the break, having opportunities for them to give back to other families who are facing some challenges, and just out of the kindness of their own hearts, which again, going back to that point where people give up on others and don't feel like they can do anything more than what that, and just inspiring and letting them on their own decide, hey, we want to use our hard-earned money while we're here to support somebody else and support their children. So that is that's fantastic.
It really is. And we've talked to some folks, and it just kind of cuts across the board, because we've had other organizations here that deal with the homeless community.
That's right.
And talked about how, one, giving people kind of a structured opportunity, and then also giving them an opportunity to make that second chance for themselves, go to work, earn a wage, feel like they're contributing, and the opportunity to give back.
Yeah.
Just is so helpful to, I mean, we all do it as working people and, whatever else. So why not give other folks that same kind of chance? So
yeah,
I'm excited.
And this is that blend, right?
Mm-hmm.
This is an opportunity. And we were talking during the break about literally how we got started.
Mm-hmm.
And we literally were sitting around cabinet meeting and with the mayor, and there were a bunch of ideas, but you hear people talk about the inability to fill vacancies, and the inability to actually have skilled people remain with the city. Because what happens is, you see, and we say often that the national bird for Atlanta now is not the phoenix, it's the crane. Right?
Yes.
And so you see the cranes all over the place, but what the big companies do is they come and cherry pick the good employees. And so you have work crews, and we've partnered with DPW as well, Department of Public Works, to put people on the back of garbage trucks, to fill potholes, those kinds of things. And so where these vacancies continue to occur in the city, we thought, well, we have for lack of a better word, we got a captive audience.
That's right.
Right? We got people that want to go to work, want to have an opportunity. And that's where we started the program, literally, from the mayor's cabinet room to our conference room, and really having a good opportunity to prove people wrong. And again, it's just a wonderful opportunity.
It's great.
So, Chief, what were you seeing? What was going on when you said, I got to do something, I need to figure this out? Did you run into an individual? Was it something that just kind of came to you one day? I mean, how did all of this come together?
And it's a great question. So one of the things that we focus on, especially in our early years of me being chief, and let me be clear, I've been chief since October 7, 2010. Nobody's counting, right? So going on 10 years. And you would always, before you become chief, you'd always say, well, if I was a chief, I would.
Right.
Yep.
Or if I was in charge, I would. And one of the things we focused on was services beyond the walls of the jail. So let me be clear now. We go out in the community. We feed seniors twice, 200 seniors twice a week. Certain events, we actually will have a barbecue for seniors, or our most seasoned citizens. We literally, we do graffiti removal, trash removal, et cetera. So again, our focus was, how do we add value as a city department back to the citizens of Atlanta? And part of that was, how do we, and to be honest, right, some individuals would come over from the state on a work program because they have enough individuals incarcerated, and then we say, well, why can't we pay these folks? Why can't we? They're doing things to improve our community. Why can't we pay them? And so then the next step was to employ them, pay them, and let me be clear, I left a couple pieces out. At a certain point in the program, 3 months into the program, they actually start paying rent.
Wow.
Right. It's nominal, right?
Yeah.
Let me be clear. It's nominal. And then the state also reimburses the city at the rate of $20 a day per inmate. So per participant, I'm sorry. So that was the energy behind how do we make this happen. And it just grew from there.
Yeah.
Well, that also gets people accustomed to certain things, right?
Yes.
So you go to work, but then you have expenses, and you're used to paying a
Absolutely.
bill,
That's
that
right.
kind of stuff. It creates those real life scenarios for people that you might have forgotten about or have
Exactly.
not been accustomed to, and kind of, again, creating a structure.
And part of that now, the state does a really good job with diagnostics of individuals that are in their custody. And so part of that is us understanding the individual plan for that person. So if they need anger management,
Mm-hmm.
If they need social services, if they need alcohol programmatic changes, opportunities, we make that happen as well. But then we partner with Nancy Flake Johnson over at the Urban League of Greater Atlanta, and her team. They actually give and teach soft skills. Right, some people may not. We've had individuals in there, been in there 5 to 10 years, and couldn't tell you how to work a telephone.
Yeah.
Right. We do business classes as well, but we don't limit it. And let me be clear, because I don't want people to get angry with me. We don't limit our business classes, for instance, to just the participants.
Right.
So if you've been employed with the City of Atlanta Department of Corrections since October 7, 2010, and I became chief, our officers we bring on, or officers we bring back, we have a responsibility to have a financial conversation with them, plan retirement, turn around and really talk about credit. That's something that we, as younger officers, we don't talk about ahead of time, and we end up in debt, et cetera. So we offer some of the same opportunities to the people that are there as well, working and have to be a part of this. Because the truth of the matter is, between overtime and several other weekend opportunities and even participating in holiday opportunities, sometimes our participants make a great deal of money.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, I'm sure they do. I'm sure they do. It's a great opportunity. So you've talked a lot about the program, and I think we've sort of hit on this already, but it sets you apart from other reentry type programs where because there's so many different nuances to what you're doing, and even down to offering the business classes. I mean, you are setting these people up because you mentioned you're picking people and you have the opportunity to cherry pick them, but they might already have skills. So if they are already been a plumber or they've been an apprentice and a plumber, you can actually help them with the business classes, maybe once they get out, to be a business owner. I mean, that takes it to a whole nother level when you can fuse all of those things together. And then look at the success story. What come after that is somebody who, was incarcerated, got out, got the training, and then was able to hire other people. Wow, wouldn't that be amazing?
I mean, it's absolutely fantastic. And here's the thing that, and I make no bones, this is what helps us be more successful day over day. And that is the fact that we take an opportunity to listen to the participants. So a lot of them come from transitional centers across the state. And I'll give you a prime example. And I've never heard of this. You could tell me in my 30 years of running a jail facility that the participants in the program actually are allowed to bring cell phones into the building. And so I'm sitting here thinking, no way, no how, that's not going to happen, et cetera. Now, and let me be clear, there are security parameters around that.
I'm sure.
Right? And we have sent people back for inappropriate. We check the phones, et cetera. But we want to give them every advantage to be successful. We give them a debit card. So we save their money for them. But each week they get a debit card. So when they are side by side working on a crew, they can turn around and go to Wendy's or whatever the lunch break is. And so, I mean, literally, I have been out at lunch, and the gentleman come running up to me, and we have lunch together. Another part of the program is treating people, getting them, as you said, getting them prepared to be back out.
Yes.
And so we will take the participants out and just have pizza, right? Things that at the beginning of the program, we thought, oh, why would we do this, right? Why would? But the participants grow on you.
Yeah.
They grow on you, and I mean, it's almost like a family, and giving them opportunities that never existed.
It just seems like we have our criminal justice system. We put people in jails or whatever, and they're treated a certain way, and expectations and all that kind of stuff. And then we have some sort of expectation that when their time is up, that they're just supposed to re-enter life and just pick up wherever you. And I mean, if you think about the way technology has changed and the world has changed in the last, I don't know, if you miss 18 months, if you miss 2 years.
That's 3 iPhones.
That's 3 iPhones. It's true.
Right. Absolutely.
It's
and 2 MacBooks. Right.
Yeah.
Right.
I mean, if you've missed that, if you haven't been keyed into the new, I mean, somebody was actually laughing. They were like, if somebody had gone into jail and then came out a couple years later, and you were like, who's the president? Like, that guy who was on The Apprentice? Like, so much of life has changed in that time, and just being able to understand the speed of things now, how things work. I mean, it's just, I couldn't imagine it. So giving people that opportunity to kind of have, like when you have a goldfish, like when you get a fish and it's in the bag and you put the bag in the water before you just dump the fish into the tank. Like it's like the bag.
Gradual step.
Yeah, you can use that.
I will. I promise you. I'll give you credit the first time.
Goldfish in the bag.
After that, it's mine. I promise you.
That's fine.
This is a space that goes beyond, and I'm very proud of the mayor and banning the box, right?
Mm-hmm.
And the city council stepped in when we started doing the first part of applications and banning the box from that perspective. This goes beyond that. Yeah. This says, okay, the box is gone, but let me give you a true opportunity. Mm-hmm. Let us now. If you and they understand it to the point that if they are not successful, it is on them.
Right.
It is on them. But let us help you bridge the gap, as you were talking about earlier, and reacclimate and become a really positive part of our new city and making that happen.
Wow. Well, this, we could probably talk for a whole nother segment on it. We've run out of time, Chief, but we are going to look for big things from this program. I'm so excited about the fact that you said you've been talking to other cities and other municipalities about how we recreate this, because this could be totally transformational for our corrections and across the country.
Absolutely.
So kudos to you.
I appreciate it. And if I may, really quickly, we are literally looking to expand it. Mm-hmm. So we're working with the Department of Corrections to try and get women involved, right? And really take this.
All right. Well, you've heard it right here on the Good Work Show. Thank you so much, Chief, for stopping by.
Thank you. I appreciate it.
You're listening to the Good Work Show.
To learn more about the show and how your company can tell their story, like us on Facebook and follow us on Twitter @GoodWorkShow.
Welcome back to the Good Work Show, everybody. We had a great conversation. I can't even
That was
talk.
a conversation.
It was.
It was a conversation.
It was with Chief Labatt.
We conversed.
I know, and that PAT 3 program. I'm still
stunned.
I'm still stunned in a good way, though, because there's so many good things that are coming out of that, and it's so replicable. I mean, there's a lot of programs where they are community-based, and we need those. We absolutely have to have them. They're tailored for one community or another. But this one, you could lift that and take it anywhere.
Right. And that is the thing. And how many communities, because, they're partnering here with the watershed district. In my past life, when I dealt with flood industry.
Why did you have to say in my past life?
In my past life.
It was like a narration change.
Well, it was. It was like, and the narrator said.
Yeah.
But no, there obviously is a watershed district in every single community in this nation. So if you have this, you've got the blueprint. Mm-hmm. So how can you just take it and tweak it and make it work? And maybe in another district, it's not the watershed. Maybe it's something else. But still, every city has a city government and they need people to do stuff.
Yeah.
So
and he's partnering with lots of different departments in there. And I think that's unique, is that you're giving people opportunities to work in the city when there's so many jobs. There's so many jobs that work in the city. You just don't think about it every day. But there are so many opportunities, and they're good jobs.
Yeah. And it just sets people up for success. I mean, one of the things that I always say is I feel like in so many instances, we set people up for failure. Mm-hmm. We set you up to not be able to do the next best thing, even if it's just a matter of when people graduate from college, are you prepared to go into the next part of your life? Or are we setting you up for failure and not teaching people the skills that they need to take the next step in their life? And I feel like this is the same thing. You have people who have gone into the corrections facility for whatever reason.
Yep.
But now they're ready to come out, because that's supposed to be how this works, right?
Yes.
Like, you do something, you have a punishment.
Rehabilitation, right?
Right. You have a punishment.
That's the word.
And theoretically, you are rehabilitated so that hopefully you don't do the same thing again to get you back. Because honestly, we don't want people to be committing crimes. It seems so logical.
It does seem. It does seem so.
Doesn't it seem logical?
1 + 1 should equal 2 in most cases.
And we don't do enough to give people. it feels like everything has to be a lifetime punishment. I've actually gotten into this argument with somebody before. Like, even when celebrities do something and they apologize, and then they're like, oh, we have to cancel the whole person. It's like, wait a minute.
Yeah.
Like this whole cancellation culture that we have now where like if you do something and you apologize or you demonstrate that you are doing something differently, that there seems to be zero space
for second chances.
And to let people say, okay, I did that. I know better. Now let me move forward. It's like there's always something pulling you back, whether it's not being able to get a job because you have a background, not being able to get housing because you have a background. You know, how can people demonstrate and make themselves
you
better?
Can't even vote. I mean,
you can't vote.
That doesn't even make sense to me. I don't even get the fact about that is you're just trying to be a productive citizen at that point.
Right.
I don't think criminals are just lining up to vote. I mean, like that's one thing. I was like, that makes no sense. I mean, there are a lot of things, but that truly you can tell.
It's ridiculous. But there's reasons.
Yes, absolutely.
And they have nothing to do with real reasons. They're just reasons.
So going back to
we won't go down that rabbit hole.
Good work show.
Yes. Yeah. But why not give people a chance so that if you're worried about, my thing is, if you are a person who's quote unquote tough on crime, worried about crime, safer communities, wouldn't the idea be, let's have fewer people who are put into a position where the only way that they can move forward is to move backwards.
Exactly.
Like logic would say that, giving people an opportunity. So I know there's going to be folks that are like, well, why do they get a job? Well,
you would rather them be working. Let's just be honest.
One would think.
Let's just be honest.
And as the chief talked about, there are so many job openings. And that's one of the things that we do. We talk about Goodwill and we work with people to find jobs. A lot of the folks that we're working with do have barriers to employment. So it's harder for them to find employment, and we work with them for a variety of reasons. But there's but one of the things that we know as Goodwill is that when the economy's better, when things are a certain way, sometimes it's harder for us to do our work because there are jobs. So, there's openings, there's availability, and, those things were going unfulfilled. Work in the city where we all live, not you, but, me.
I live in a city.
In a city.
So technically this program could be lifted and taken into all of those cities, which is where I hope that anybody who is listening, because as the chief said, there have been folks who have come from all over the country to see what they're doing in the city of Atlanta and to figure out how they might be able to replicate that. And then I love what he said at the end is really, trying to take it so that not only it's a program for men, but also a program for women. And then how do you continue to expand that? So I'm wishing Chief Pat and the rest of the team the best in doing that. And we'll be a champion for the Pat 3 program here on the Good Work Show for sure.
Because at the end of the day, less crime is better.
That is true. That is true. I mean,
that could be the tagline. That's 2 good ones I've had today, though. The goldfish analogy.
Yeah.
That was
less
good.
crime is better.
And less crime is
so
better.
if you ever run for office, that's going to be that's
my bumper sticker. Less crime is better.
Less crime is better. I mean, who's going to argue with that?
Right. Who's disagreeing with that?
That's
who's going to say, I don't think that's a good idea?
Yeah.
Other than people that, run for-profit jails. Those might be the only people.
That's true. And criminals. You have the whole underworld,
That is true.
Yeah.
So I don't want to make them angry, though. Well,
you should. But they're not going to raise their hand and say, I disagree with you.
Right, that's true.
So
is true.
You'll be safe with that.
They might be because honestly, I guess if you it's a crime regardless. If you don't get caught.
That's true. So they might think less crime is better. It's debatable.
Because is it crime unless you get is crime, right?
Crime is crime.
We should ask the chief.
I think
it's a tree in the woods.
It's the same thing as if you lie and don't get caught. It's still a lie.
Right.
Somebody knows.
If only you know.
Jesus.
You and Jesus.
He knows all the time.
That's true. And I know.
Yeah.
I know.
Oh, you know that you lied.
You know that you lied.
Yeah, absolutely. Everybody knows that you lied.
Well, no, that they lied.
Everybody knows that you lied. No, I'm just I'm sticking to my
I'm telling you, that's one thing that's not worth it.
what, jail?
Lying.
Oh,
That either.
Yeah,
Either one.
Yeah.
But yeah, that's not worth it.
No.
Anywho, so that was awesome. And hopefully we can figure out a way to get connected with, this is why we love doing the show. Because we bring people on. And then after, when we were done, when you guys saw, talking with Chief Labatt, because it didn't rhyme. That's right. Pat Labatt. It did not rhyme.
Oh, you were trying to make his name rhyme.
No, I remembered that I didn't. So that's why,
Okay.
Anyway, but realizing like, when he said that he worked with Gateway Center.
Raphael?
So we were like, oh yeah, we just had Raphael on the show a couple weeks ago. And then he was
right.
working with Urban League. And of course we just had Mike Schumann. And then we were talking about trying to get Miss Nancy on. So there's
lots of
all these connections and, working in the community space here in the city of Atlanta. We talk about how small, it's a big town, but it's a small town. And you just start bumping into the same people. So then you realize, these two are already working together and these two are working together. Now, how can all four of us work together to do something really incredible? So
I just want to say before we leave the show, we need to give a big shout out to Chief Labatt's wife.
Oh my gosh.
She was like, you didn't meet her audience. Too bad.
She's
see the best.
You'll see her on our social.
She's gonna be our friend on the Good Work Show, and she so now because of her, I will have purple AirPods. Just saying, I don't because
before the day ends.
Before the day ends, I'm gonna have those.
They will be on your way to your house.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah,
I'm surprised that you have not broken out your Amazon app yet.
We didn't have time. So
okay.
But
as soon.
Just because so she was super cool though.
And heard the show. Well, she heard Raphael's show.
That's right.
She heard Raphael's show when we interviewed Raphael Holloway
from Gateway Center.
I always want to call him something else, which is not his name. So that's why I double checked. She heard Raphael on Gateway Center. Was like, wait a minute, why are we on the show?
Yes,
and made it happen.
So yeah, I will tell you, like, shout out to people who hear something, say I'm going to do it and get it done. And she seems like a get it done type of person. So Chief, you got a good one. I'm just saying.
Yes. Hold on.
Yeah, right. But it's been a really good show. I hope that we brought you something that you probably didn't know that was going on in the city of Atlanta. And that's what we like to use this show for, to bring nonprofits that you might know about, like Gateway Center or some of the others, United Way, Urban League. You probably heard of them, but maybe you don't know exactly what they do. Maybe you don't even know exactly what Goodwill does. And we hope that you do by now, since you've been listening to the show. But if you don't, this is an opportunity to do that and bring people and programs and organizations on the show that you may not have ever heard before, like the Table on Delk or Raising Expectations. And they're doing some really fantastic work in the community and may not be the ones that you hear about on the news every day. Maybe they don't have the biggest social media following, but they are changing people's lives every single day. And so we hope that you got this from that program. We're going to continue to use this platform just for that. That's why we are the Good Work Show. We only talk about good things and try to stay out of politics when we can.
Yeah. Unless it comes.
And not get down rabbit holes.
Sometimes it just.
I know it's a natural progression, but
it is.
But this is
space.
It's a non-partisan-ish show. And
it's a safe space.
It is. It's a
come on in.
show where you can laugh, smile, feel good about the content, go out, tell somebody else, find a volunteer opportunity, a way to give back, and just be part of something good. So thank you for joining us on this week's Good Work Show. We will see you again next week.
Bye.